think we fixed the error. Meredith, can you hear us?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great.
I think our audio was off. You are able to share your screen, and Cassandra introduced you, and I apologize for that.
Oh, all right. I apologize. I didn't realize that it's my turn, huh? Okay. And so I'm to share my screen. I've just been sitting here like, all right, um let me do that really quickly. I apologize. Um, all right. Can everybody see my screen? Yes, and everybody can hear me. Well, good evening, Mayor and Council. Apologize for the glitch there. Thank you so much for this opportunity to share with you the Meridian Public Art Master Plan. It's been an honor to work with the City of Meridian, with Cassandra, and with the Meridian Arts Commission after first being introduced to the MAPS program back in 2020. It's been very exciting to see how much the program has accomplished and to work with you to shape the program's future. Today, I'll briefly be sharing the process for developing the plan and then reviewing the key elements of the plan. Right. The planning process has allowed MAPS to take a step back and ensure that Meridian has an intentional, community-informed blueprint for public art, one that builds on current momentum, maps priority sites for the next decade, and clarifies roles and decision-making for commissioning and maintaining the city's public art. A key step in the planning process was gathering input from community members and stakeholders. We provided a variety of methods for people to share their ideas and their feedback on the program. And our inquiry included input into the vision and goals for the program, the types of projects people would like to see in the future, and where. And I want to thank you all for also meeting with me during that process to talk about your hopes and aspirations for public art in Meridian. Community engagement revealed strong awareness and appreciation for Meridian's public art, with residents favoring interactive, community-friendly pieces that are locally relevant, inclusive, and woven into parks and everyday spaces. Overall, the community sees art as a key driver of quality of life, placemaking, and Meridian's unique identity. Now moving on to the plan. Here is the overall table of contents. I'm going to focus on a few key elements, starting with the big picture, the mission and the vision. So the plan begins by defining the mission of the MAPS program, what it does. And that is commissioning and acquiring public art, stewarding the public art collection, so really taking care of it, promoting community access to and engagement with public art, and then partnering with other entities, which the program has done so successfully, including public agencies and developers to create public art in Meridian. The vision statement addresses the impact that public art will have in Meridian, and this was a big component of our community engagement. These three key focus areas, unique identity and sense of place, creative and engaging city, and distinctive and engaging destinations, inform the strategies and guide the projects and implementation recommendations in the plan. The plan then moves from general to specific. With the input from the community engagement, site visits, our review of city plans in the CIP, we began to look at potential public art opportunities. First, working with the Arts Commission, we started by defining different types of public art. Due to the strong interest and work that's engaging, interactive, and distinctive, we developed a range of project types. Permanent public art, which are newly commissioned site-specific artworks that are intended for long-term display, are what the MAPS collection currently consists of for the large part. But we also created a definition for temporary public art projects, which, similar to permanent public art, are commissioned pieces, but can be shorter term, anywhere from day-long events to works that last for up to a decade. Rotating public art exhibitions would be artworks installed in designated locations on a recurring schedule, refreshing public spaces and giving a wide range of artists ongoing opportunities to showcase their work. There was a strong interest in functional public art, including artist-led design of everyday infrastructure like benches, pavilions, and wayfinding that transforms necessary features into distinctive integrated works of art. There's also very strong interest in murals, which already make up a large component of the MAPS collection and include original painted or graphic artworks with lifespans ranging from temporary to long-term. And then finally, socially engaged public art, which describes a process-driven approach where community participation and collaboration are essential to the artwork as the final result. To develop the priority opportunities, we carefully considered the potential impact of art in parks, community facilities, downtown, and incorporated into transportation infrastructure. This is going to be a starting place in the plan for the Arts and Culture Coordinator and the Arts Commission to develop an annual work plan. I'll go through each of these categories quickly. In terms of parks, we looked at, we profiled 8 key parks. Kleiner Park could host a new permanent artwork exploring themes of remembrance and legacy in an existing space near the Memorial Plaza, complementing the park's existing 5 pieces. Current and upcoming investments in Settlers Park create an opportunity for iconic, highly visible artwork that reinforces Meridian's sense of place. Fuller Park's mature trees, pond, and forested setting invite art that emphasizes natural systems and environmental stewardship, encouraging visitors to slow down and connect with nature. And Field District Park offers wide-ranging opportunities from gateway features and sculptural landmarks to functional and rotating installations. Bear Creek Park can feature art that serves as family-friendly visual gateway, softening the roadway edge and welcoming both park users and passing traffic. Gordon Harris Park can use public art along the canal pathway to serve as a welcoming gateway to the future paved canal path while reflecting neighborhood character. 8th Street Park setting and ongoing branding investment offer an opportunity for public art that enhances the park's character, supports placemaking, and welcomes the surrounding community. And Tully Park offers opportunities for art that strengthens identity and creates cohesive, welcoming environment as a neighborhood gathering place. Focusing on community facilities in downtown, the Cherry Lane Library offers an opportunity to partner with the library on a public art for a prominent interior wall space or entry area. In downtown, gateway archways were a popular idea for transforming key entry points into downtown into powerful works of public art, utilizing archways, signage, meeting installations, or pathway scale artworks to announce arrival to the district. The Festival Street project along 2nd Street can weave public art and performance areas into vibrant, people-focused corridor for community gatherings. And a rotating public art program in downtown could establish dedicated platforms for temporary installations, encouraging repeat visitation. And then finally, moving on to transportation, the Linder Road corridor from Pine to Ustick offers multiple touch points for public art, including roundabouts, multi-use pathways, and roadway elements. MAPS can expand on the very popular traffic box mural program by producing additional mural-wrapped boxes featuring artwork developed in partnership with the school district and professional artists. Also very popular, the Valley Regional Transit bus shelters offer opportunities as new shelters are installed in Meridian. And then finally, Meridian's greenways and trailheads can incorporate sculptural features, functional elements, artist design signage, and nature-based artworks that reinforce wayfinding accessibility, and community identity across the trail system. The next part of the plan outlines a number of implementation tools for the program. An annual work plan process and budget is a document developed with input from an ad hoc work plan task force, a 5 to 7 member group that includes at least 3 Arts Commission members and 1 Parks and Recreation Commissioner. The work plan is informed by this public art master plan, other planning documents, and input from city staff, project partners, and other stakeholders. Once the work plan is approved by the Arts Commission, the annual plan and budget is presented to council, and the budget is incorporated into the Parks and Recreation Department budget for approval. The master plan outlines an inclusive project development process. One important tool is the project plan. When the MAPS program embarks on a new project, the project plan is the first step. It allows for all project stakeholders to get on the same page and provides a basis for evaluating the project as it moves through the commissioning process. The master plan outlines a standard commissioning process. A key component of that process is a public art project task force. This group, comprised of community stakeholders and arts experts, plays a key role in reviewing artist submittals, selecting finalists, reviewing concepts, and recommending projects for approval. And then another key component of that commissioning process is the artist concept development phase. This process allows for finalists to make a site visit, meet with community, and conduct research before developing an artistic concept, really getting to know the community. The Portable Works collection in Meridian began between 2008 and 2010 and was focused on acquiring permanent artworks for display within City Hall. Through annual calls to artists living and working in the Treasure Valley, the city has successfully purchased 10 pieces for this collection. The master plan recommends expanding this collection by continuing to invest in Idaho artists through fair market purchases and strengthening Meridian's identity by documenting its heritage and diverse cultures and enhancing municipal spaces by bringing art into daily engagement with staff, officials, and visitors. To ensure the steady growth of this program, the plan recommends an annual budget, a portion of the annual budget should be allocated to continue to acquire new work. The city of Meridian can encourage more public art and private property through 3 key strategies. First, to clarify the Unified Development Code would be to drive stronger public art outcomes. This means establishing a clear definition of public art that aligns with the public art master plan, increasing the point value developers earn for incorporating art, and creating a defined process and criteria for staff review. Secondly, sharing best practices, including a practical guide for developers, walking them through how to identify a site and set a budget, how to find an artist, how to manage a project from start to finish, and how to care for artwork over time. And then finally, recognizing success by pursuing opportunities to celebrate and promote public art that's been installed on private property, giving developers visibility, and encouraging others to follow their lead. And finally, the Public Art Master Plan recommends key strategies to raise awareness of the MAPS collection. These efforts make the collection more visible, more accessible, and more meaningful to the Meridian community. By encouraging exploration, the MAPS program can expand the information that's already available on the city website, which there's a little screenshot there, and use social media channels to reach and engage audiences where they already are. And then raising the profile of the MAPS collection by developing communication strategies tailored to individual projects and ensuring every piece of the collection is clearly labeled and consistently using the MAPS logo so that people understand that it's part of that MAPS collection. So I'll just close in terms of what's next. Tonight we're asking that council adopt the Public Art Master Plan. There are also a number of projects that Cassandra will be briefing you on in the coming weeks, including the Community Center Public Art projects, new portable works that were acquired from the America 250 exhibition, ongoing traffic box installations, the Linder Road Median Public Art, and then coming up, the development of the 2028 Public Art Work Plan and Budget. Any questions?
Thank you, Meredith. Council, any questions?
Mr. Mayor,
Councilwoman Schrader.
I'm curious, has community development had an opportunity to weigh in on some of the ideas around updating our UCC code? And I guess I'd like to understand how much of the plan has implications for changes that we would need to see from that department and whether they've had a chance to agree or disagree or discuss.
Yes, did have a chance to meet with them and discuss actually very early on in the planning process, and that's sort of the source of those recommendations in the plan. I mean, clearly the details of exactly how that would be worked out in the Unified Development Code would need to come from the Community Development Department, and they would be the ones to bring that forward for your consideration.
Mayor, Council Member Strader, we have actually added a tactic in the strategic plan to work on this as well.
Council, any other questions? You can also bring up all the members of the Arts Commission and grill them specifically on their favorite part of the plan if we need to, since they are well represented here this afternoon. Councilman Taylor.
There we go. Just a quick question, Cassandra. I think we talked about it a little bit when we sat down, I don't know, 8 months or a year ago. I don't even remember when it was. We talked a little bit about something I think would be interesting, and you talked a little bit about it, but connecting Meridian's history reflected in art. I mean, I like the unique art pieces that are kind of fun and whimsical and things like that, but I also really like the art that tells a story about Meridian. Can you talk a little bit more about some of the discussions you had about how to kind of pull that out, any collaborations you have with our other commission on history, and just sort of give a sense of telling stories about Meridian's history through the public art?
Thank you, Commissioner Taylor. So in the plan, none of the projects are, it'll be dependent on the project, whether history comes up or not. But that was definitely something that the community said strongly, that they want to tie things to history. So the next few projects that you'll be seeing soon, not part of the plan, but part of the community center projects that will be for Settlers Park, there are some very strong ties to history, settlers, agriculture, history. We even plan to have a whole history wall in the lobby that will have historical photos and tied into native flora and fauna with the history. So that is a strong theme that I think will come up through a lot of projects, although none specifically have it as a theme. It'll be project dependent. I do the one park that it's a future park in development, but it has a lot of Basque heritage, for example, will probably tie in strongly to the history of Basque heritage.
Follow-up question?
Councilman Taylor.
Yeah, thank you. That's great. Another question about, we talk about art in public spaces. It's easy when it's our public space, a city park, a pathway. There's other public spaces that are, owned by other people or commercial areas. I'm kind of curious, how are you trying to reach out and work with some of the development community to maybe identify opportunities where we could have some public art that we're sort of participating in and that they might be receptive to, knowing that it's, we don't necessarily control the property, but I'm curious how you're trying to coordinate maybe with some of these other stakeholders.
That is a great question. So the Meridian Art in Public Spaces, the MAPS program, and the ordinance specifically, it's for pieces on public property. So like the Cherry Lane Library, although it's not a city facility, we can work to do a MAPS piece for that. On private property, we haven't pursued that. And I think that unified development code, sort of addressing that and really encouraging people by adding some point amenities might encourage developers to do that, and developing a developer guide. But developing a guide for them to really see a path forward to do that, and to choose some really great projects instead of just things that take off an amenity. So I feel like maybe my short answer is I haven't done a lot of that currently, but hope to, especially through the Unified Development Code, find better ways to work with the development community to implement public art in their spaces.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, for just a quick comment.
Councilor Taylor.
I think that's an opportunity, maybe, maybe that's something we consider as applications come forward, if we give them more points as they're proposing to put in some public art, because it would be nice to take advantage of that opportunity, but it'd be nice to kind of coordinate with the work that the city's doing. So there's some themes and things that the citizens of Meridian have made clear are priorities, to kind of convey that and be helpful in that. So I think that's something that might be an interesting opportunity for us. So thank you.
Council, any further questions, comments? Yeah. All right, well, we did have a request to adopt this plan this evening. Are we ready to take that action? Do you need to?
Mr. Mayor,
Oh.
so I plan to work with legal on a resolution, so you'll see that on
Okay.
a future agenda for, in the consent agenda.
So just do it that way instead? Okay. All right, then thank you very much. And thank you to the
Thank
Tax
you, yeah.
Commission for showing up.
Yeah,
and
sorry for the
Meredith,
technical snafu there. Thank you so much. Have a great evening.
you know. Okay, with that, we'll move on to item 13, which is the ACHD 5-year plan discussion. Assume this will be Mr. Bergman who will be leading this.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, thank you. I'm just loading up the presentation now. We'll see where we go from here. Cool. Mr. Mayor, council members, my name is Craig Bergman. I am the long range associate coordination planner here at the city. Part of my role is to work with our partner agencies on the city's transportation priorities. That includes the ACHD 5-year plan, which is what we're here to discuss tonight. Here are a couple of key dates. ACHD released the 5-year plan draft on August 5th for public and partner agency comment. Because of the condensed schedule this year, ACHD has indicated that they're going to accept public and agency or partner agency comments up until the adoption on September 23rd. Staff would like to be a little more proactive and have Meridian's comments prepared for consideration for the September 9th ACHD commission. So the first part of this, the first part of the draft that we're going to cover is going to be the safety and compliance portion of it. I'd like to talk about Meridian's largely maintained the priorities from the previous year. Significant progress has been made on several of the projects, although through programming and implementation. This is a condensed version of the chart that you guys have in your packet. Some notable things that I'd like to bring up is that Stoddard Road from Victory to Overland remains fully programmed for construction in 2027. East 3rd Street from Franklin to Carlton is identified for design in 2028. And that was added with a tentative construction date of 2030. And then finally, the Black Cat Railroad crossing is also moved forward significantly. ACHD is advancing the improvements, and they would like to convert the stop from a stop controlled crossing to an active crossing sometime in October of this year. Some pieces of it, the first 3 priorities remained pretty well programmed and moved closer to implementation. There were some changes to priorities 4 and 5, specifically McMillan Road pedestrian improvement project between 10 Mile and Linder is no longer specifically programmed. Design, right-of-way, and construction are now identified as future projects, primarily due to funding at this point. The Main Street and King Street pedestrian crossing has been completed as a rapid implementation project. So no additional programming is needed for that project in the 5-year plan. With that, we're going to move on to capital investment
Mr. Mayor.
program.
Councilwoman Schrader.
Can you just go back
Sure.
slide, please, Craig? Thank you. I just want to say I'm very disappointed about the McMillan change. And this is an area that has a huge need. It's right next to a school. I've heard from Girl Scouts and other kids even about it. And I just think this is a pretty important one. And I guess I'm just frustrated about the just moving it out of the programmed years. What does that mean exactly? Does that mean it's like number 65, or does that mean it just doesn't even have a date anymore? Like, help me understand what that means.
Yeah, so Mr. Mayor, Councilwoman Strader, it's still maintained as the fifth priority, or I'm sorry, the fourth priority for Meridian. At this point, because other priorities have gobbled up that funding, they've just removed the date. That doesn't mean that it's moved lower on priority lists. As some of these projects wrap up, I could see that project bumping up as prioritized and some of those dates coming back in next year's 5-year plan. But currently for this draft, we do have it as not having funding.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Scher.
I'm tracking you now. So it's just that it hasn't been programmed in the 5-year plan, not that something changed and they actually moved it completely out of the prioritization entirely. Thank you. That's helpful.
Thank you. So we'll move on to the capital investment program. This is where the city has made substantial changes to the priorities this year. Several projects have been moved into construction or reaching completion. Meridian has elevated the next set of transportation needs at this point. This table kind of shows how each of the projects in the current top 10 moved compared to last year's priority. One of the clearest shifts was towards the Locust Grove corridor, while several McMillan projects have also moved into the top 10. This is another look at the top 5 projects, a condensed version of what you have in your packet. ACHD responded positively to several of the projects that Meridian elevated. The table compares prior ACHD programming with the new 2027, 2020, or 2031 draft. Some highlights that I want to point out is Meridian's #1 priority, Amity and Locust Grove, saw significant improvement. Right-of-way was moved forward, and ACHD added a 2030 construction year where construction had not previously been identified. The #2 priority, Locust Grove, Amity to Victory, saw more substantial changes. Previously, there was no identified design, right-of-way, or construction year. In the new draft, ACHD has programmed design for 2027 and 2028 with right-of-way for 29 and 30. Construction is still TBD on that project, but the project has moved from a future project into more active programming. For the remaining top 5, the results are a little more mixed. Fairview Locust Grove remains strongly programmed, while Locust Grove from Fairview to Ustick moved later in the plan, and Victory Road from Locust Grove to Eagle is now identified as a future project without a specific design or construction year. So we have a list of talking points also included in the memo of things that staff have identified as worth mentioning. Staff currently doesn't recommend sending a letter unless any of these are critical issues that we would like to see addressed in the draft of 5-year plan, mainly because our priorities are pushed out till 2028. So much of the funding is not going to occur in the 2027 plan. It would occur in the 2028 plan. For that, I stand for any questions.
Council, questions, comments? I'll ask a question to see if this was discussed at any level. What was our #2 became our #3, and then it also fell further back in terms of it not really even being a year to move forward. Is this a result of moving up the others, or is this that project's too much money and too hard that we'll do any reason not to do it conversation? Because I don't feel like the other projects are that expensive to justify it not even getting any years moving forward. If you have any thoughts or comments, how or why, I'd be interested to know. And frankly, I'd be interested to know where council sits on. Again, I live down south. I know the intersections that are being done. I frankly view that's the stuff up that has gone out to be more relevant than the rest of it personally, to the city as a whole, but just wondering.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, that's a great question. I from my analysis and what I kind of gleaned from this draft is Meridian took a stance of moving some projects really quickly up the list. And with that, they hadn't been previously identified or focused before in previous drafts. Since that happens, ACHD's funding also is restrictive this year. So they're looking at ways to take our projects and give them the dates and give us an anticipatory date of when they would be completed without dedicating any funding for that, because priorities may change next year or the year after that. It strictly, I believe the ACHD strictly focused on prioritizing the projects that Meridian moved up heavily, and then trying to keep some level of prioritization for projects 3, 4, and 5 for us. I will also say Edinson is here to answer any questions from the ACHD side.
If you feel necessary, I'm not asking you to. If you want, if you have an answer, I'll take it. But
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Should I state my name and address?
name is fine.
Edison Bautista from ACAC Senior Transportation Planner. Mr. Mayor, Craig's absolutely right. The movements of the projects are a reflection of the priorities in the list. Has projects move up and change priorities, we aim to continue to implement the top 3 strategy with having the top priority of the project prioritization list having a construction year within the plan, and then consequently the number 2 and number 3 will have one of their phases move within the plan at some point. That's where, for example, Locust Grove, Fairview to USIC had a design year later into the plan to reflect that priorities.
So 2 steps forward, 1 step back.
In a way.
Okay, I'm not seeing any ask or direction to make any comments or do anything. So I guess, thank you, Craig and team, and we'll leave it at that. All right. So with that, we'll move on to item 14.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Overton.
I move that we go into executive session per Idaho Code 74-206 subsection 1A, B, and F.
Second.
Have a motion, and a second to go into executive session. Is there discussion? If not, clerk call the roll.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Taylor,
Aye.
Strader,
Aye.
Whitlock,
Aye.
Little Roberts, Overton.
Aye.
All ayes, motion carries, and we'll go into executive session. Council, do we have a council? Have a motion?
Mr. Mayor.
One, two, one.
I move that we
Where's
come
our-
out of executive session. Second.
Where's our fourth? Do we,
She's right there.
okay. Motion and second to come out of executive session. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those nay, the ayes have it. We're out of executive session. Motion adjourned.
I move that we adjourn the workshop. Second.
Motion second adjourned. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those nay, the ayes have it. We are adjourned. Council will call this meeting to order. For the record, it is Tuesday, August 18th, 2026 at 6 p.m. We'll begin tonight's regular city council meeting with roll call attendance.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councilman Taylor?
Here.
Councilwoman Strader?
Here.
Councilman Whitlock?
Here.
Councilwoman Little Roberts? Councilman Overton?
Here.
Mayor Simison?
Here. Next up is the Pledge of Allegiance. If you'd all please rise. And Senator Burnt, would you like to lead us in the pledge?
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We didn't have anyone sign up for our community invocation, correct, Mr. Clerk?
Sandra Ramirez is here.
I'm sorry?
We do. Sandra Ramirez is here.
Oh, excellent. Sandra, thank you for being here.
Of course. Thank you again for allowing me this opportunity. It's always a pleasure to stand in front of you and lead us in prayer. So if you would all kindly join me in prayer, close your eyes and bow your head. Father, we thank you for this day. God, thank you, Lord, for blessing each and every single council member and the mayor that sits on this council. Lord God, we pray that you would bless them, that you would bless their families and keep protection over them, Lord God, that every decision that's made, Father God, would be of you, Lord God. And we just pray that the finances that come in and out of this community and out of this city, Lord, that it would be blessed, Father, that there would be favor over it, Lord God. And Father, that we would all be great stewards, Father, of whether we're a citizen or whether we are public servants, Father God. Bless each and every moment of this meeting tonight, Lord God, and we thank you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you again.
Thank you, Sandra. Okay. Up next is the adoption of the agenda.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Overton.
there is one change to tonight's agenda. I move that we vacate item number 8, the executive session. And with that one change, I move that we approve the amended agenda.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the agenda as amended. Is there any discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and the agenda is agreed to. Council, anything under announcements and recognition? Okay. Mr. Clerk, anyone signed up under public forum?
Mr. Mayor, we do have one, Mitchell Nelson.
Okay. If you'd like to come forward, be recognized for 3 minutes.
Good evening. My name is Mitchell Nelson, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to speak today and voice my opposition to any and all forms of automated license plate readers, as I know several others in the community have done already at previous city council meetings. As your constituent, I urge you to pass legislation that reins in the use of automatic license plate readers, also known as ALPRs, whether they are done through Flock or Axon. I believe the company used here is Axon. These ALPRs are being used to track our movements, spy in our communities, and compile detailed databases on everywhere we travel in our vehicles. And it is far too easy for this data to be abused and misused. You now have the power to protect us from this Big Brother surveillance, and that begins with passing legislation to either ban ALPRs outright or create strict regulation that includes the following guardrails at a minimum. Limiting data retention to hours or days, not the current data retention of 1 month. Limited data sharing by prohibiting local law enforcement from providing access to any other government entity unless they have a warrant for a felony crime that is recognized under local or state law. Limit usage to felony investigations, missing person cases, identifying unregistered or uninsured vehicles, in certain limited non-enforcement scenarios such as electronic toll collection, which I don't believe we do here. Requiring annual usage reporting and placing limits on the availability of ALPR data via open records requests so it cannot be used for troublesome purposes such as stalking or embarrassing people for entertainment value. Every day that these cameras continue to remain active, they collect sensitive data that can be used to violate our rights. Please act now. There have already been dozens of cases in cities across the United States of police officers and others in law enforcement using this technology inappropriately to stalk and harass citizens of their community. Please do not let Meridian be the next city that has a headline like this. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay. With that, we'll move on to our first action item tonight, was the department report, which is award protest by CJ Schoonover. And I will turn this over. Is this going to be introduced by staff? Missionary?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I can start off the conversation. This is an appeal from a RFQ that was submitted or put out to the community by our purchasing department. Senator Ramirez is here. Keith Watts should be online. In case you have questions, you have a memo, and the information from the offering are in the packet. We have Mr. Schoonover's response. We have the scoring sheets. We have all the information that was included in the initial RFQ request, as well as his appeal. Again, purchasing is here if you have specific questions, or I can answer that. You have a memo with all the other information in there. Otherwise, this is Mrs. Schoonover's time to address you with his appeal.
Okay. Council, any questions for staff before we hear? Okay. All right.
Good afternoon. Thank you for letting me talk to you guys today. So what I was trying to figure out, my topic is I was invited by the city to apply for the plumbing plan review and inspection services. When filled out the RFQ number, I believe you guys have that, and there's a scoring sheet. What I'm curious about is this contract has been under the same, I guess, company for 25 plus years. When he retired, it got passed on to one of his employees. And the only way to get experience, how Meridian words it, is for working in Meridian. Excuse me. Well, I had 5 years of working for that other company in Meridian, and I got a rating of 2.5. So I don't know if there's any way that any other contractor could come in and try and bid against this if it's only based on Meridian experience. Unless you work for that other company, there's no way to get experience in Meridian. So I was just kind of curious on how, if it could be looked at a little differently to where, I guess instead of a number chart, maybe, experience on, I have 10 years of being a plumbing inspector, 5 in Meridian, 5 owning my own company. I was just kind of curious how that all got kind of compiled into a 2.5 rating out of 20, or how someone could get those points if they come in and try and bid on that contract again. So I was just looking for a little bit of clarification, I guess, on that side of it.
Okay. Mr. Watts or Sandra, one of you want to address that? He is on, but you want either place, either.
I don't bite.
I understand. All right. So for the record, my name is Sandra Ramirez. I'm a buyer here at the city for the procurement division. And for this specific topic that's at hand, we had 20 points for past experience with the city of Meridian. The proposer only proposed on their submission, it was not clear that there was previous city of Meridian experience, which that is all that is provided to our evaluators to evaluate at that time, which is why the 2.5 points overall between the two evaluators was given. So to discuss or to explain the topic at hand, that is the reasoning for those points. To just give a little more context onto the questioning of how we go about and if we can in the future change the evaluation criteria, that can be changed. That is something that we in procurement sit with the departments on and the evaluators on to discuss what they would like to evaluate. What are they wanting to see with from a proposer's standpoint? I hope that gives a lot of the context to the question.
And Mr. Watts also has raised his hand, so I think he probably wants something else to add to that.
Hello, Mayor Simpson and council members. I apologize for not being there tonight. I'm a little under the weather today. But I wanted to clarify a couple of things. Mr. Schoonover said that, it's been one company for 25 years. Well, I'd like to add that we've gone out for at least an RFQ 3 times in that time frame, and I think probably more. As far as I look back, I found at least 3 RFQs. One of those had about 15 or 18 submissions to it for this very task. And when he's talking about the 2 points out of 20, that is just one of the criteria that the evaluators use to evaluate an entire proposal. So it's not just one item. And like Sandra had mentioned, there was no documentation or detail of any service in Meridian in Mr. Schoonover's proposal. In his rebuttal letter, he did offer some additional information, but we cannot allow proposers to change their proposal after the time of closing. And also, this proposal was open for 20 or 21 days. If a vendor had an issue with any of the evaluation criteria, we allow them to do a question through our procurement online portal, where they could ask questions regarding this criteria. So it was open for plenty of time. There was time for questions. And I think it was clear that the proposal itself lacked the information to give our evaluators an ability to give more points than they did.
All right, thank you. Council, any questions for staff based on that information or the applicant?
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Taylor.
I'm hearing 2 different sort of issues here. Mr. Schoonover, you weren't necessarily contesting the score as much as you were trying to understand how could you get more experience, which would lead to a higher score. What I heard from staff was we didn't receive sufficient information to score it that way. When I was reviewing the materials, it didn't look like even if you got the highest score or the proper scoring for your experience with the city, you still weren't scored high enough considering all the other pieces, which what Mr. Watts talked about. So I guess my question for you, sir, would be, have you felt like our process sort of made it an obstacle, too much of an obstacle to overcome to do more work with the city? Because and I'll just say this and please answer, I don't think anybody at the city wants to make it so that we're only favoring one vendor over another. We want an open process where we get the best value and the best work, all that. So we want as many people to engage and participate. So if there are some things that we legitimately have in our process that do discourage or prevent individuals such as yourself from being able to receive the bids, we'd obviously want to take a hard look at it. But I mean, I guess from your experience, do you feel like you just didn't put the right information in the application originally? Does that sound fair? Or do you feel like we actually have something that is working against you?
Well, I think there again, it goes, I mean, the single contract that was held, I thought I had listed it in there that I'd worked for him for 5 years in the city. And again, you would have to work for the person holding the contract now. There's very few plumbing inspectors out there. So for them to even get, I guess, a chance to do it, you would have to work for the company that is holding the contract right now. Or else you come in with your own experience of the other cities, your own time, things like that. And it was probably my fault too, the way the wording I read it was, I put in that I had worked for DMH, that was the contract holder from 2017 to 22. I know you'd like addresses and things like that to pull up. I mean, each house we do 3 inspections on, each job as a minimum, sewer and water, rough in and final. And I guess I just misinterpreted it that knowing that is what the plumbing contractor, the inspector does. I guess I just kind of worded it as, well, I worked there for 5 years to get the experience, but I guess that wasn't quite how to word it. And I take responsibility for that. Now I know how to kind of, I guess, reword it. But my concern is, how could someone else come in and say, hey, I've had a plumbing or a business being a plumbing inspector, maybe not in Meridian, but are they disqualified right off the bat for that, or?
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Schrader.
what I'm hearing is that what you followed up with should have been in your original proposal. Like, I don't think any of your experience was irrelevant. I think it's that you didn't give a very fulsome response to that section of the RFQ. Having read the different sections, you really needed to tease out what you ended up following up with, which was after this window had closed.
Showed it.
This is where I work. They're not saying your experience is irrelevant or that you're unqualified. They're just saying that your proposal needed to tease out a lot more detail in that section. That's what I would say.
Part that,
Yeah, exactly. Because so Mr. Mayor, because to be fair, they can't like open this up and go back and forth with people. Like, they have to have a very fair process where everybody submits their own qualifications. And like in that section, you needed to say, I worked for this place. It was in Meridian. This is why it was relevant. Here are the projects I worked on. This is why my experience is relevant. I think it's just that you needed more information. I'm not hearing that you're not qualified or you don't have a path toward this. I'm just hearing that your proposal needed more meat on it.
fine tuning.
That's what I'm hearing. I don't know, Mr. Mayor, if our Director Watts wants to elaborate, if that's correct. This is what I'm hearing, having reviewed everything in the file.
Now, Madam Mayor, Mr. Mayor and Councilwoman Strader, that is correct. I would also like to point out that the actual evaluation criteria does allow for someone who has done work in the city of Meridian, not specifically for the city of Meridian. So they can take that into consideration if you detail that in your proposal. So it's not just working for the contract holder. It could be information and experience within the city of Meridian. But once again, you have to detail that in your proposal for us to be able to take that into consideration during evaluation.
But as an inspector, you would have to work.
You can speak into the mic.
As an inspector, you would have to work for that certain contract holder.
That, Mr. Schoonover, that's not the way I read this. It says describe any experience working with, for, or in the city of Meridian for the construction trade that you're submitting for. So I think if you've done inspections for contractors or developers within the city, that's well within your right to include that in your proposal.
Well, I guess what I'm not understanding, to do the work in Meridian or to get the experience, you would have to work for the contract holder. So it's not like just going out and building a house. So you could build a house anywhere. You have to be licensed, certified, all that to be an inspector. But if the contract for Meridian is with one company, I can't just go in and say, oh, hey, I'm going to inspect this one for you, or I'm going to inspect that one. Those are all subbed out to that company. All of your guys' inspections go through the company that has the contract. So, and I don't know if I'm just misunderstood on that, but I don't feel like there's a way anyone else could do that if the contract is held already, I guess.
Yeah. I'm not sure how the construction trade operates. Do developers have people come in and inspect their work that's not for the city of Meridian? That I can't answer for. Maybe Dave or somebody from his department could help with that.
Your phone a friend is coming to a mic. So.
Mr. Mayor, Council. So a couple of things. One, Councilwoman Strader, your assumptions and your description is very accurate. What was provided in the initial review was very limited. And I can tell you, being a scorer, going back and looking at the response rebuttal in the full packet, the application would have been scored differently had all the information that came later been provided initially. To the gentleman's question about how inspections occur, Mr. Watts is correct the way that's written. You could be a plumbing inspector doing inspections for any contractor, any homeowner, anything of that nature. That credit could account towards that score. It has to be detailed in the application. When we review and we see applications that say, I did work in X city, that's great. None of that's verifiable unless you give us some more information to tell us what is that, what systems have you used, who have you worked with, what type of projects have you done. So that's really the intent of that section talking about Meridian, is to look at What is your detailed experience? Yes, a contractor that works for the city who is engaged with the Acela system and our permitting system may have more experience in that component, but somebody may have more technical experience in a big high-rise commercial job that's new to Meridian. So I think it's pretty well thought out. It's one of the 4 or 5 scoring components. It's not an overall just that element. And so I think Councilwoman Strader's description was very accurate on the totality of where we're at and why we're here today.
Thank you. Council, any additional questions, comments?
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Overton.
just a question for Mr. Schoonover. So we've all been listening to what's been going on tonight. Do you feel like you've learned how this process works to the point that given the opportunity to do it again in the future, you would do it much different?
Yes. Yeah. I can see how, I guess it was a lot of assumption on my part that if it was, I worked there from, with it being the only person with the contract, I thought it was a little more limited to, I guess the 5 years they would have known that just for that guy. So it's not like 15 builders were doing it and, well, list this or this. It was one guy had the contract. That was who was doing all the work. So I apologize for not, I guess, writing it the correct way, but, so I see a difference here. So.
Mr. Mayor, follow up?
Councilman Overton.
Well, I was learning along with you this evening on how this process works. I believe we have a fair process that we run at the city. I'm glad to hear it explained in the detail that we had it explained tonight, both by purchasing and by community development. And I hope this doesn't discourage you from putting in the future as well. Well, next time, put in every piece of information possible.
Yeah, I guess, could that be, if it goes back out the next time it goes to bid, maybe described a little different as not there again, I'm trying to figure out how someone who hasn't worked for the contract holder would have a chance to get Meridian experience. That's, I guess, where I would be hung up on that again. If there's 20 points to be earned on it, if the competition doesn't work for that guy, I don't see how they could get the points that they would need.
Mr. Mayor, Council, Mr. Schoonover, we'd be happy to sit down with you. I think a couple of olive branches, we'd be happy to sit down with you and talk you through when our process is completed on this round in the future, what you think, what helps you get better information. I think to the point you continue to raise, that's one component of that category. You can also get experience in other methods, other ways, working with others in the city, utilizing, hey, I've scheduled an inspection through your system before. Hey, I've called for permit fees. Hey, I've called for these inspections. So we're happy to sit down and talk with you. I'd encourage you to talk with purchasing. Once these processes are done, all this information is public information. You can go back and look at everybody else's submittals, see what they did, and sort of help give you some guidance on how you can make a better submission. So we're happy to do that.
Well, and like Keith was mentioning, 18 different applications. Well, a lot of them were just looking for the plans examiner, where you guys wanted the inspector and plan examiner, which took a big majority completely off the list. So I understand what you're saying, where I could have, I guess, worded it different. And yeah, if it comes back up, I'd love to come in and talk with you guys and go from there. So,
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Taylor.
maybe a little takeaway here is, if I'm not sure what not for discussion here, but I would just put this out there for our purchasing department. It might make some sense on an annual basis to have an opportunity for prospective vendors to come in and understand the process. I mean, it's not a transparent, clear process as it is. It's meant that way to be fair. We have to have a metric by which it's fair, so that there's no, helping a friend out only. We have to look at these objective metrics, but it might make some sense to consider ways that we can have some outreach on a basis where we say, come in, we'll explain the process of applying for work. I think that might be a good takeaway from lessons learned from the city.
Council, anything else you need? before making a determination?
Mr. Mayor, question for Mr. Neri. I'm assuming this is a accept or deny situation.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, I believe we've come to a good point this evening on understanding how this process works, that I think Mr. Schoonover understands how to compete for this a second time when another one opens up. But I do believe in everything we've heard from both planning and purchasing that this process was done in a fair manner. And as such, I would move that we deny the award protest this evening on the RFQ that took place July 14th, 2026.
Second.
Have a motion second to deny the award protest. Is there any discussion on the motion? Sherry, does this need to be roll call? Does this need to be roll call? Okay. If no, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. And the award is purchased tonight. Thank you. Okay, with that, we'll move on to item 2, which is a resolution number 26-2600 for the City of Council, City of Meridian appointing Robert Shappy to seat 1 of the Meridian Planning and Zoning Commission and providing an effective date. So council, we've been searching for someone in South Meridian for a while. I've held vacant a P&Z seat while we tried to find someone that was willing to serve from South Meridian. A lot harder than you thought. We actually did have several people put their names forward this time, which was a great to see that we had a couple different options through that. But the person, after sitting down with Chairwoman Lorcher and I, that Robert Shappy we felt would be the best one to fill this thing. And I think, you know, to know Shappy is to love Shappy, but I think it comes with a lot more than that in the context of he was one of the first people that I met when I started working for the City of Meridian, because he was at the time the Meridian Chamber of Commerce president. And you know, I got to go to those meetings and get to know him then. But really, I think if you look and say, why does he want to serve now? I think he's looking for an opportunity to once again give back. He spent his last, 20 years helping grow a company here in Meridian that now has their name on a nice building in Eagle View Landing, Soren. He's gone through that process of growing a business and is now looking for that next phase. And for him, that's giving back. But one of the great things about being in the CPA, he is a rule follower. They have rules that they got to follow in their trade. But there's also, understanding the rules and looking for exceptions if the process allows. I think those were some pretty good comments on when you're looking at plan and zoning, understanding the rules, following the rules, but also understanding that you need to take a different look at things sometime as you go through that. And I think that his that attention to the process and his community involvement, both long-term and otherwise, will be a great asset. And I think it also speaks volumes that you have 2 former city council members here in the audience supporting his P&Z appointment because they both feel strongly about the values that he has and what he'll bring to this position. So I'm excited for the opportunity to have him serve on Planning and Zoning Commission as a fellow Southside resident. Looking forward to have a strong voice, but also a measured voice that will be there to learn, but also provide years of experience and seeing how our community has grown over the years and how projects that come forward will be fairly applied. So with that, I'm happy to stand for any questions or comments.
That was going to be a motion, but I would say that I'm thrilled to have Robert involved. It's great to have Shappy back doing things in a big way in Meridian. He was heavily involved in the chamber when I started and took over there, and he was, I think, immediate past president. And so just really thrilled and know he'll do a great job. And with that, I'd be happy to move.
Councilwoman Little Roberts.
I move that we pass resolution number 26-2600, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Meridian appointing Robert Shappy to seat 1 of the Meridian Planning and Zoning Commission and providing an effective date.
Second.
Have a motion, a second, to approve resolution number 26-2600. Is there discussion? If not, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and the resolution is agreed to. Captain, would you like to come forward and make any comments?
Mr. Mayor and Councilman, I am grateful for the opportunity to give back to the community. As the mayor indicated, I've lived in this community for 25 years and raised my family here, and I'm looking forward to an opportunity to be on the commission and work with them. And thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. With that, rousing applause, we'll move on to resolution number 26-2601. That's a resolution, City of Meridian, certifying the levy of $536,339 of foregone property taxes in fiscal year 2027 for the specific purpose of funding ongoing operational expenses and providing an effective date.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Willock.
I would move that we approve agenda item number 3, resolution number 26-2601, a resolution certifying the levy of $536,339 of foregone property taxes in fiscal year 2027 for the specific purpose of funding ongoing operational expenses and providing an effective date.
Second.
I have a motion, a second, to approve resolution number 26-2601. Is there discussion on the motion? If not, you would like a voice or a roll call? Okay, let's clerk call the roll.
Thanks, Mayor. Taylor?
Aye.
Strader?
Aye.
Whitlock?
Aye.
Little Roberts? Overton?
Aye.
All ayes, motion carries. Ham is agreed to. Okay, with that, we'll move on to our public hearing for this evening. Up next, item 4, which is public hearing for Summerlin, H 2026-0018. We will open this public hearing with staff comments.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So I'm going to try to make this as simple as I can. This project came before you in 2024. So we are here today for annexation, a preliminary plat, and a modification to the existing DA. So the project at hand, so they want to annex 20 acres, which used to be called Rescue Ranch, annex this in and add it to the previously approved subdivision of Summerlin, which was approved in 2024. So it's basically like an infill that's being added to an existing plat. So what is required of the applicant is that once this is approved, they'll have to withdraw the previously approved preliminary plat because it will no longer be valid. So basically not much changed on the existing plat that was approved, which is we have the Watson Canal down here. So none of this basically changed. We had R15 and R8 zoning for that. So it's already annexed in and it's already zoned. So the 20 acres that's being annexed in, they want to zone it as R15. It abuts the park property. So there's already amenities that have already, they exceeded their amenity points and their open space. And they did not add additional amenities up here because they are adjacent to the park, Discovery Park. So they can, people who live in this area can access the park. As you can see, they have all their amenities here. But they are asking again, which was approved previously, to keep the Rawson Canal open. And a block length waiver for this area because it exceeds the 1,200 feet. And that was approved previously, so they're just asking for those same things again. So we did get a letter from the CUNA School District because previously the CUNA School District was saying they didn't have the capacity for this development. But what the CUNA School District said was that they understand with projects coming in from all the different cities surrounding them. They don't have the capacity, but they do understand, but they do see this as an infill project because a larger portion of it was previously approved. So they just see the 20 acres as an infill project. And again, they have lots of pedestrian connection throughout this. So again, not much has changed on what was previously approved. We're just adding the 20 acres, kind of rearranging some of the lots, but it's still R15 and R8. We didn't take away from what was approved as a R8. Didn't take away any of the amenities that were approved. They are building their section of the roadway along here for Discovery Park, and I think they are in conversations with our park department about the remainder of the road that needs to be built. Again, plenty of open space, their amenities. Same building elevations that were approved with the previous one. And we did ask commission and council to weigh in on this lot configuration because we didn't think it was right to have 4 lots backing up to this lot. So the applicant did go in and change that. They did make they reconfigured the lots, as you can see. So they did take staff's advice and reconfigure that. So, and we did ask them to add another amenity to the what is it called? It's for like transit. So they're going to add a bicycle repair station. So staff doesn't have any issues with what the applicant has proposed. And so we did not get any written comments on this. And we did have one person speaking at the last hearing. It was a neighbor to the south, but he had no issues with what is being proposed because he realized that none of the utilities were being changed in this proposal. So I will take any questions that you may have on this.
Thank you, Linda. Council, any questions for staff? Okay, would the applicant like to come forward?
Good evening, everybody. Heath Clark, 251 East Front Street in Boise, representing the applicant. So while we wait for the staff report to come up, this one is really all about kind of completing the picture and taking 2 existing approvals and making them all better. And the way that we did that was that we went about, even after we had the prior approvals, and went about and acquired what was previously a gap between those 2 properties, closed the gap, made everything better. So I'll kind of walk you through here what we've got. See if maybe that'll advance. There we go. So everyone's familiar with the location of the property. So Hadler was approved in December 2022. That's the yellow property. The green property is Summerlin. That was December of 2024. The blue property is the out parcel that we were later able to acquire. So there were a couple of things that we wanted to improve and the reasons why we went out and spent the money to try to acquire that out parcel. One of them was that when we had the approvals, one of the things we talked about was that there was this private driveway that served that out parcel that was pretty close to our entrance. And we wanted to consolidate all of that and make that a better situation. Of course, there's the existence of the 20-acre out parcel. And then it also was kind of the missing link to be able to finish that collector road on the south side of the park. So having acquired that out parcel, we can close the loop. We eliminate the private driveway that was there, and we're also able to complete the collector up against the park. So pretty simple from that perspective. The rest of the project remains the same. The large lots down against the Rawson are untouched. We are proposing densities that are consistent with the MDR and consistent with the existing approvals. We did add amenities. We added another dog park. We converted a green area into a sport yard. We've got one of the things that this does as well is complete that regional pathway loop in the way that you saw that Linda showed you. So we think it's an improvement to the approval. I can smash those words together apparently. And so we'd ask for your approval tonight. And I think that might be the quickest I've ever gone. So that's good.
2.5 minutes.
Yep.
Thank you. Council, any questions for the applicant?
Mr. Mayor.
Councilman Overton.
So Heath, thank you. That private driveway was the one thing that gave me heartburn last time when we did that approval, is just the fact that we had this albatross sitting in the middle. And I knew it was going to develop at some point, but how that was actually going to develop and at what point was my biggest concern for the future. The fact that you were able to bring it in now and clean this up and make it look like no one in the future will ever know that existed and that private driveway was preserved. Very happy to see that. So no questions. Thank you. I want to keep it short, just like you did.
Thank you.
Council, any additional questions for the applicant? Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Clerk, we have everyone sign up on this item?
Mr. Mayor, we had no signups.
Okay, is there anybody present that would like to provide testimony on this item? If you're in the room, come forward. If you're online, use the raise your hand feature. See no one coming forward, no one raising their hand. Does the applicant waive any final comments? Applicant waives any final comments? Council, what's your direction?
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Whitlock.
I would move we close the public hearing on agenda item number 4, H 2026-0018.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to close the public hearing. Is there any discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The public hearing is closed.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Whitlock.
be brief too. I think this is an improval. Is that the word? Okay. And I appreciate the applicant bringing us an improval on something that we've previously approved. So if there's no other discussion, I would move that we approve agenda item number 4, H 2026-0018 after considering all staff and public testimony for this hearing date of August 18th, 2026, with the waiver for the excess block length for East Crimson Clover Drive and the waiver to keep the Rawson Canal open.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Is there discussion on the motion? If not, clerk call the roll.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Taylor.
Aye.
Strader.
Aye.
Whitlock.
Aye.
Little Roberts. Overton.
Aye.
All ayes, motion carries. Sam is agreed to. Thank you. Congratulations. With that, we'll move on to item 5, which is ordinance number 26-2134. Ask the clerk to read this ordinance by title.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's an ordinance of the City of Meridian, Idaho, amending ordinance number 252097, the appropriation ordinance for fiscal year beginning October 1, 2025 and ending September 30th, 2026 by decreasing total appropriations from $264,498,131 to $250,360,333, increasing total revenue from $153,696,851 to $163,620,345, and decreasing the use of fund balance from $110,801,280 to $86,739,988 and providing an effective date.
Thank you, council. You've heard this ordinance read by title. Is there anybody that would like to read it in its entirety? If not, do I have a motion?
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Taylor.
move that we approve ordinance number 26-2134.
Second.
Have a motion second to approve ordinance number 26-2134. Is there discussion? If not, clerk call the roll.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Taylor.
Aye.
Strader. Whitlock.
Aye.
Little Roberts. Overton.
Aye.
All ayes, motion carries. Item is agreed to. Next item is number 6, which is ordinance number 26-2135. Ask the clerk to read this ordinance by title.
Thank you, Ms. Mayor. This is an ordinance pursuant to Idaho Code Section 50-1002 and Section 50-1003, providing for a title of findings, providing for the adoption of a budget and the appropriation of $224,442,540 to defray the necessary expenses and liabilities of the city of Meridian in accordance with the object and purpose and in the certain accounts herein specified for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2026 and ending on September 30, 2027, to levy all such appropriate taxes and levies as authorized by the law upon taxable property, and to collect all authorized revenue, to provide for a waiver of the second and third readings pursuant to Idaho Code Section 50-902, and providing for an effective date and the filing of a certified copy of this ordinance with the Secretary of State.
Thank you. Council, you've heard this ordinance read by title. Is there anybody that'd like to read in its entirety? Seeing none, I have a motion.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Taylor.
move that we approve ordinance number 26-2135.
I have a motion and a second to approve ordinance number 26-2135. Is there a discussion? If not, clerk call the roll.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Taylor?
Aye.
Strader? Whitlock?
Aye.
Little Roberts? Overton?
Aye.
All ayes, motion carried. The item is agreed to. Next item up is item 7, which is ordinance number 26-2133. Ask clerk to read this ordinance by title.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's an ordinance related to Durango subdivision H 2025-0017, annexing land located in a portion of the southwest quarter of Section 33, Township 4 North, Range 1 West, Boise Meridian, Ada County, Idaho, as depicted in the map exhibit. Rezoning 37.08 acres of such real property from RUT to R8, 29.53 acres, and LO, 7.55 acres, zoning districts. Directing city staff to alter all applicable use and area maps, as well as the official zoning maps and all official maps depicting the boundaries in the zoning districts of the city of Meridian in accordance with this ordinance. Provided that copies of this ordinance shall be filed with the Ada County Assessor, the Ada County Treasurer, the Ada County Recorder, and the Idaho State Tax Commission as required by law, repealing conflicting ordinances and providing an effective date.
Thank you. Council, you've heard this ordinance read by title. Is there anybody that'd like it read in its entirety? If not, do I have a motion?
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Taylor.
I move that we approve ordinance number 26-2133.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve ordinance number 26-2133. Is there a discussion? If not, clerk call the roll.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Taylor?
Aye.
Strader?
Aye.
Whitlock?
Aye.
Little Roberts? Overton?
Aye.
All ayes, motion carries. Item is agreed to. Council, anything under future meeting topics? Or a motion to adjourn?
Mr. Mayor, I move that we adjourn.
Second?
Motion and second to adjourn. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it.